Roll on Christmas, says Mark.
Yeah, roll on Christmas.
Says no one at all.
Okay. Well, I say it.
Christmas tree drooping, says James. I think that's more.
Get a plastic
one.
one.
Yes, roll on Christmas. Well, why not? Let's look forward to Christmas this year. And let's look forward to a whole stack of fabulous confessions, because it might be that over the Christmas period, you know you've done something you really shouldn't have done. And we'd like to hear about it if it's broadcastable and legal.
Yes. Doesn't involve laxatives.
Correct.
Yes.
Or breaking into your neighbour's house. Unless they've asked you. Oh, I don't know.
No, they haven't.
No, they certainly haven't.
Right.
Okay, so confessions at greatesthitsradio.co.uk. That's where you send in your confession. And then the People's Verdict is due on today's, which comes from Sassy. Sassy sets the standard for the first one of the year. Father Simon and the Confessional Collective. Back in the day, I was lucky enough to be offered a position at Sky Television in Isleworth. I was over the moon and excited about my first week. Now, I'm not entirely sure what she's doing here, but Sassy says the position was very basic and involved typing the words in the caption box for what was screening. I was covering maternity leave for a lovely lady called Caroline. So I imagine that means that if you were watching, let's say, Blockbusters...
yeah, let's say.
On the screen, it would... there'd be a caption box which would say Blockbuster. Is that...
Okay.
So anyway, it doesn't really matter, but Sassy was doing a kind of a basic job covering maternity leave for Caroline whilst working at Sky Television. Okay, fine, we got that clear. The team were a joy to work with, and as the weeks went by, I was doing more and more jobs for the team and getting to know people in the studios. It was great. Sky TV on in the offices all day long, and the best stocked Tesco you've ever seen on site. Almost. Anyhow, I digress, says Sassy, because this is not about Tesco.
No.
So one cold, rainy day, not long after my first week there, I accompanied Caroline to the green room kitchen, which happened to be the nearest place to our office, to make a cuppa. I had no idea that we shared this room with the studios. It was a small room, and once inside, there wasn't much space. As we went in, Caroline said hello to someone, and to be honest, being nervous, I didn't really look around too much, didn't look up. She asked this particular person, whoever it is, how filming was going. I said, well, I'm just listening. I'm just getting on doing my thing. I still didn't look up to see who this person was. I thought I should probably get out of the way, and somehow, and I really can't say this clearly enough for your listeners, somehow the gods and the fairies must have been against me. Maybe my guardian angel must have deserted me, and the fates were looking the other way. But for whatever reason, I knocked into this man.
Oh, no.
Spilling his hot coffee.
Oh, dear.
All over him. But particularly...
Ouch.
Down his trousers.
Okay.
And specifically...
Oh, no.
Oh, right.
Specifically,
right, yes.
his unmentionables.
Yes, we got that.
Ouch.
Here we go, everyone.
Ouch, indeed. In my young, nervous state, says Sassy, I grabbed a tea towel and totally flustered.
No.
No, why?
Started.
Don't. Oh.
Started mopping, dabbing, really, in short, jabbing movements, trying to clear up the mess, like a demented mother would do. It was then, when I looked at this man's face, it came to me that he was someone well known, and a slightly familiar face, craggy and reassuring. I stopped my mopping of his unmentionables.
Okay.
A sentence that I don't think I've said out loud before. I apologised. He looked stunned and said, "That's quite enough of that, thank you," or similar.
Yeah.
He quickly left the tiny kitchen, making his escape. As he walked away like a cowboy, legs bent outwards like a gorilla. Well, hang on, is it a cowboy or is it a gorilla? Doubtless smoking a cheroot.
Yes.
He was clearly allowing for maximum aeration of the affected parts.
So glad we're getting all of the description here. So good,
Wow.
yeah.
I suspect there's a lot we're not getting.
Yeah.
Caroline then looked at me in disbelief and said, "Did you not know who that was? Who you spilt coffee over?" "No," I said, "but he looked familiar." "Well," she said, "it's Barry Norman."
Oh, no.
Oh, my goodness me. We went back to our floor, and of course everyone was told that Barry's dampness was down to me. The top film critic in the country was hosting the show in wet pants and trousers.
Oh.
But he was shot from the waist up, so he carried on regardless. What a top pro, what a top man. Being new, I wondered if that was it and I was going to be asked to leave. Luckily for me, it was forgotten, and I think he hid when he saw me coming. But I'm sure Barry Norman never forgot what I did. Do you think I might be forgiven? In retrospect, Father Simon, it seems likely that he was given some fresh, dry trousers rather than continue filming with a soggy patch, but we will never know. I may receive forgiveness, but the memory of that day will never leave me. Barry Norman, who has since left us, of course, I need forgiveness from him, but most importantly, I need forgiveness from your fine listeners. What a great fade I've been practicing over Christmas.
Yes, yeah.
The art of...
So smooth.
I've actually got a book, The Art of Crossfading.
Yes, brilliant.
Page 1. Anyway, Sister Susie, what do you say? It's an uncomfortable... Well, it was uncomfortable for Barry, obviously, but what do you say?
Well, Sassy, I don't know. It's a continuity issue if he got changed, because obviously if he'd done some sort of filming and he
1
changed
minute
his
he's in black
pants,
trousers, next he's in green trousers. Hey, presto!
You're going to spot it. But I just think you didn't mean to. Maybe I don't think I can forgive you for going in and dabbing with a tea towel.
It's the jabbing.
I think.
Let me just mop that up. Jab, 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 jab.
You just apologise and move on. That's what you should have done, Sassy. So for that reason, I'm sorry, I can't forgive you.
Okay, brother from another gutter.
Yes, I mean, they keep these kind of dry trousers on hand, don't they, just in case?
Do they?
I'm sure they do. This does remind me of a Christmas party at a certain radio station that we won't mention anymore, where I managed to, cover Annika Rice's chest in vol au vents. And trying to cover it up, that was a mistake.
Dab, dab, dab.
Dab, dab, dab. Definitely don't do that.
Don't go in for the dab, dab, dab.
I am going to forgive, because all of us have been there, haven't we? We have. All of us have.
What, spilling coffee over famous people's groin?
Yes, we've ish,
or chest. Anyway,
So
in your
sorry.
case, people's verdict, please. Do you forgive Sassy, yes or no? On the text 61054, you start your message with Simon, and all will be fine. Merely moments ago, we had our first confession of the new year, in which Barry Norman got a cup full of very hot coffee all over his unmentionables, which was mopped up by Sassy, our confessor today, in short jabbing and mopping motions. Anyway, the people's verdict is in, and it's like this.
So Sally says that was very funny, and Sassy was probably mortified enough after the jabby dabbing, so no forgiveness needed, but gives forgiveness anyway. Claire says, forgiven, we've definitely all been there, well, maybe not with celebrities, having flashbacks to spilling drinks on my in-laws, never a good time. And Ray says, forgiven, genuine mistake, and being flustered did the deb-dab thing with the tea towel. Matt's confession is also forgiven. Well done, Matt, says Ray. Well done.
Okay, that's very good, and that's your Annika Rice. Oh,
yes.
Can I just...
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry for...
So very sorry.
What was it you did again?
It was vol au vents all over her chest.
That's... Yeah. It's a whole TV show idea.
There you go.
If you have a confession, we'd like to hear it. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. 5:47, this is Greatest Hits Radio, encouraging you to send in your very own confession, because there's a smart speaker there for you. If you've got a top tale, a top confession, maybe it involves a celebrity, because we had some last week, then we'd love to hear about it. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Sister Susie's in the saloon bar, in charge of everything, just checking she's still there.
I am, yes, I am.
In the studio next door, through the glass, COVID-secure circumstances and everything, that'll be Matthew Williams.
It will be.
The brother from another gutter. Here's today's tale. Comes from Abigail. Abigail, thank you very much indeed for sending in today's confession. Father Sam, the Confessional Collective. When I was much younger, I had a group of mates that were always together. We were inseparable and got up to all kinds of mischief, most of which could not be mentioned on the radio. But there is one tale that has been haunting me since my youth. I have hummed and hawed about whether to tell you, even you, Father Simon, but have decided with the new year to unburden myself at long, long last, to start afresh and to seek the radio redemption that you offer. Okay, well, promising start. One of my mates was called Brian. We used to go down to the pub and put the world to rights over a pint of beer or two, or in my case, a baby sham or 4.
Oh, yes.
How much is a baby sham at the moment, Sister Susie? Just checking.
I think it's £2.50 for one of the smaller bottles.
Okay, thanks very much, says the update. For all you dry January types. I should say that we were all still living with our parents at the time, and even though I was of legal drinking age, my parents were quite strict, and more importantly, very light sleepers. So if we're out late, I would have to be very quiet as a mouse, trying to get myself back in and up the stairs and into bed without waking them. I was like a stealth ninja. Or at least I thought I was. One false step, one creaky floorboard trodden on, and I would trigger something akin to the Spanish Inquisition. And as I'm sure Brother Matt will testify, 4 baby shams are hard to disguise once you've been on them all night.
Correct.
I bet you've
been
absolutely knocking them back.
Can't get enough.
One particular... What is it? Is it peach?
Is it baby champagne? Isn't that what baby sham is? Suze will know. Suze, what's a baby sham?
Yeah, that was the idea, but it's sparkling perry.
Sparkling perry, there you go. One particular Friday, Brian's mum had kindly pre-agreed for me to stay that night. Is that even a thing, pre-agreeing? I think you just agreed ahead of time. Yes. So he could stay. So I didn't have to worry about using my ninja skills and potentially waking the folks and getting an earful. Brian's mum was getting pretty relaxed about what time we got in, so we took complete advantage and had a very merry time. We were the last ones in the pub, and the bar person mopping around us and putting the chairs up on the tables around us gave us the biggest hint that it was time to leave. I realised Sister Susie from the pub might take against us at this point, but we did leave eventually. After stumbling out of the pub and into the nearest kebab shop, we started the long walk home. There wasn't really anyone about, and the streets were deserted. About halfway home, I spotted something in the middle of the road that looked like a cuddly toy. But when I got closer, I realised it was actually a live rabbit.
Oh, no.
A live rabbit, and appeared to have an injured paw.
Oh, dear.
I decided that we needed... That was Matt's help a poor animal voice.
Excellent.
I decided we needed to help the poor thing. Well, what else would I do?
Of course.
I did what everyone else would do in the same situation. I picked it up and I took it back to Brian's mum's house. We decided that we would deal with it in the morning, and I placed it in the bath for safety.
The bath. Right, okay.
Looking back, this was not the wisest thing to do. Here we get to the crux of the matter. In the early hours of the morning, Father Simon, I was awoken by an incredible scream. Brian's mum had gone to the toilet. It's not even that. No. And just as she went to flush, she saw 2 frightened eyes looking at her from the bottom of the pan of the toilet.
What?
The rabbit had somehow jumped from the bath and had fallen into the toilet. Bright eyes indeed.
Oh,
burning like fire.
Oh, nice.
I think so. She immediately presumed the creature had come up from the sewer, like some creature from the deep, and decided to rescue it and keep it. I have to tell you, Father Simon, I cringe every time she told the story and how the rabbit got its name. From then on in, it was called Sewer, the rabbit.
Yeah, of course.
From the vet, she told the vet, she told her friends, she told everyone the story. What an amazing rabbit. It could swim through pipes. You could show it off in a circus. I decided it would make it all a lot worse to actually tell her the truth, so I never did. So now, after all these years, I feel I need to actually tell her, that's Brian's mum, and I'm sorry I don't know what Brian's mum's name is, that Sewer the rabbit did not swim up, surprisingly, did not swim up through the pipes, but actually it was left there by Brian and myself after a long night of baby shams. And, you know, obviously it was slightly inconvenient for the rabbit to be in the toilet pan at the time. But anyway, everyone's okay in the end.
It is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Sister Susie from the pub.
Yeah, do you know what, Abigail, that really made me laugh. And I think, yeah, you're right, everyone's all right in the end. You rescued the rabbit, he got a lovely new home, and I think everyone's fine, so I'm going to forgive you.
A brother from another gutter.
I mean, looking down into the toilet after one's been and seeing a pair of eyes looking back that's never good.
Bright eyes.
That's bright eyes.
Yes.
Bunny in the B-Day. Not quite a B-Day, but that's how it works. I'm going to say forgiven because everything did work out in the end, didn't it? I mean, I'm amazed that the bunny with one broken leg managed to get out of the bath. Well done, the bunny there. So, yes, definitely forgiven.
Well, it's the people's verdict. That's what we're... Maybe it wasn't a broken paw. Maybe the rabbit was just putting it on.
Oh, right.
It was just pretending.
Yeah, could be that.
People's
Unlikely.
verdict, please. Do you forgive Abigail, yes or no? On the text 61054. You start your message with Simon. Your confession will be welcome, but for the moment, let's concentrate on the people's verdict. Forgiven, yes or no? 61054. First word is Simon. People's verdict is on the way. Moments ago, we had today's confession, which is all about Sewer the rabbit, who was rescued, slightly damaged, put in the bath overnight, just to recover, but then somehow jumped from the bath to the toilet, was then discovered in the toilet by the mother, and that's Brian's mother, who screamed and thought she had a miraculous rabbit on her hands. Hence Sewer the rabbit. Anyway, the people's verdict is in, and it sounds like this.
So Abigail says, such a funny confession, but it did make me wonder, what about the poor owner of the rabbit? Still, I do forgive. Ruth says, forgiven, the bunny got a home, all happy in the end. And Ali says, forgiven, but has anyone considered how traumatised Sewer was? What did the poor rabbit see?
Well,
indeed, that is a point.
But obviously, you would have to conclude the obvious.
Yes, I think we would. We don't have to speculate on that at all.
Well, you started the speculation, Your Honour. Anyway, well, thank you very much for that. So, if you have a confession for us, it's the best of the week, then you get the smart speaker, and we would love to send it to you. Send us a tale, please. confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Anyway, it's confession time, and if it may well be that you have a tale just sort of lurking away, and you think, I'm not quite sure whether to send it in. Well, imagine one of our lovely smart speakers. If you send in a fine one, that's what you have to do. Send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. People's verdict will be expected once you've heard tonight's tale, which comes from Martin. And I'm just checking that we've got Brother Matthew.
Yes, I'm here.
Next door through the class. Sister Susie's not in the pub. She's in studio B25.
Yes.
I think. Okay.
Wow.
Wherever that is. Simon and Susie and the brother from another gutter, says Martin. I seek forgiveness for an event that happened in the mid-90s. You see, my partner and I decided to go for an impromptu curry at one of Bradford's finest curry restaurants. Bradford, of course, is synonymous for its curry houses. However, we chose to go to the finest curry house in Bradford. Indeed, may I be so bold as to say, the finest in the country.
All right, here we go. Go on.
Okay. You're going to feel very hungry very, very shortly. Such was the excellence in their food, they once cooked for Princess Diana. That's how far up the pole they are. The restaurant, as you can imagine, was divine in its high standard of cuisine and presentation of its decor, its tables and its staff. The tables had magnificent white tablecloths, wine glasses and cutlery. All the waiters wore white shirts and black trousers, and nothing was too much trouble from the moment you walked in, unlike some of the less savoury establishments that I could mention. But fortunately, I'm not, and even if I had, you'd have taken it out.
Yes.
When you walked into this restaurant, there was a reception area where you could peruse the menu whilst imbibing a nice cold Kingfisher beer or two. And we my partner and I, we leisurely discussed the menu. Plain rice or palau rice, always a tricky one. Prawn bhuna or vegetable biryani. Lamb madras or chicken to piazza. It's tricky. We were sat facing the entrance as we discussed this, and this was the time that another couple entered the restaurant, and quite clearly the guy recognized me. Being polite, I acknowledged his presence, but for the life of me, couldn't remember who he was. This put me a little bit on the back foot because I couldn't recall him. Him, nod and smile. Me, nod, smile, no idea.
Right.
We've all been in these situations. This set my mind racing as to who he was. Well, they decided, this couple, to go straight to their table. We followed soon after. We were shown to our table. We were seated directly behind them, such that I would see the back of the guy's head as I looked over my partner's shoulder. Who is this guy? I kept asking myself, driving myself crazy. We had a lovely meal anyway. A few more Kingfishers. There are other beers, but, the Kingfisher is working quite well. And all the while I was tormenting myself for the guy's name. Well, it quite quickly came to a head. In fact, everything seemed to happen at once. After our meal, my partner decided to powder her nose, and at the same instant, his partner decided to powder her nose. The smartly dressed waiters brought our blindingly hot towels, blast furnace hot to wipe our hands and faces, it suddenly dawned on me I did know who it was. It was Nigel, and I hadn't seen Nigel for years. I used to go to school with him. What better way to let on than to creep up behind him and rub the fiercely hot towel in his face? Nigel! I exclaimed as I rubbed the towel in his face. You can imagine the shock and awe as the skin was peeling from his face. The unintelligible guffaws added to my glee. The harder I rubbed, the more shocked he was. Nigel, how are you? I held the flannel firm. No. Nigel writhed under my firm hand. I carried on pressing the soft cloth to his face. Must be 20 years.
Carrying on.
You haven't changed a bit. From under the towel about now, I just heard him cry, I'm not Nigel.
Obviously. Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Who the hell is Nigel? My name is Tony. Apparently it transpired he'd once run a pub, and that's how he recognised me, because I used to go into his pub every now and then to buy Kingfisher. It also came to light that he had just been released from hospital following a heart attack. Not a line that usually induces mirth, but anyway, it does in these circumstances. I could have brought on another coronary. I never saw Tony after that. So maybe it did. And I never saw Nigel, come to think of it. I trust they both had long and fruitful lives, but I do realise that I need to seek forgiveness for my misgivings, because clearly I made a horrendous faux pas, and I would like to ask forgiveness from Martin, formerly of Bradford, but now moved away. So let's check in then. Shocking story.
Yep.
Sister Susie from Studio B93.
Yeah, I've moved. I have to say, Martin, excellent use of the word imbibe. That you get a tick in my book from that. And you know what? It happens all the time in the pub. You get people come in, they remember you because there's only one of you, and you see hundreds of people in the pub, and you'll recognise them, and you'll be like, I don't know their name. So I do feel for you, Martin. However, that was a bit mean. It was really, really mean. And
was it?
You didn't have to go that far. You could have just shouted over, waved and said, hello, Nigel, and he would have said, no, it's not Nigel, and that'd been fine. But no, you had to rub the towel in his face and cause a scene. So for that reason, I can't forgive you.
Nigel writhed under my firm hand.
Exactly.
Right. Well.
Not forgiven.
Brother from another god.
Right. Let us down another avenue there. I happen to know the curry houses of Bradford rather well, but I've never heard of this one. Certainly
well, I
none
didn't
of them.
Name it.
Well, obviously not, but, I've never been to one where they had white linen tablecloths and all of that. The cashmere, I remember going there, they're very good. Anyway, I'm going to say forgiven here because, no harm done. Apart from the heart attack, obviously. But, everything else was fine. He was fine. And he got 2 goes at the towel, and the towel's the best bit, isn't it? So, all forgiven.
I love those towels. You have to tear off the little...
Yeah.
Oh,
lovely.
Nice. Okay, it's the people's verdict. Do you forgive Martin, yes or no? On the text 61054. Merely moments ago, Tuesday's confession, which came from Martin, who went for a curry. And in the curry house, he finally recognised a long-lost school friend, thought he'd creep up on him by... and then once he'd done that, get his really, really flaming hot towel, which he'd just been handed, and put it in his his old friend's face. But he got the wrong person. It wasn't Nigel. It was Tony. Of course it was. Anyway, hopefully everyone is perfectly fine as a result of all of that. Anyway, the people's verdict comes in like this. Oh, hang on. There it is.
Put my mic up. There you go. Yes. So Emma says today's confession's an absolute belter. Going to take some beating this, not just for the this week, but for the whole year. Forgiven for making me cry with laughter. Ray says forgiven. I had the first octave of laughter when Martin got up with the towel. Then I was completely gone when you mentioned the heart attack. Honest case of mistaken identity in my book, especially with loads of Kingfisher. Easily done. Forgiven, says Chris Ball. Great story. I'm with Matt as a big fan of the cashmere. Chris was there in the late 70s. And finally, John says...
but it wasn't the cashmere.
It wasn't the cashmere. No, it was a different one. And John finally says, not forgiven. He had a dodgy ticker and he could have slipped into a coma. Yeah.
Right.
Ticker and korma.
Yes, that
both
really wasn't
curries.
worth keeping to the end.
It was worth
think?
keeping. It was superb.
Okay, so thank you very much for those comments. If you have a confession for us on tomorrow's programme, well, it's confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. That's going to be a hot contender for the smart speaker.
Very hot and spicy.
A hot contender. It's confession time. Gather round, and if you have a top tale, send it to confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. And if yours is our favourite one of the week, then a fantastic smart speaker can be yours. That's confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk. Judged tonight by producer Susie, live from the saloon bar. Susie from the pub, she's there. And Brother Matthew through the COVID secure glass.
Yes.
Today's comes from Thomas. Thomas, thank you very much indeed for sending in this. Father Simon and the Confessional Collective. Back in the summer of 1982, I was a young apprentice TV engineer working for the family firm, having recently finished school. I was attending day release at college, which you spelt wrong, but anyway.
Okay.
Should have stayed an extra day at college.
Yeah.
1 day a week, and then learning on the job the other 4 days. And as I couldn't yet drive, I was buddied up with young Paul. Although he was called young Paul, he was actually older than me. But on one of the warmest days of the summer, we'd been working in our shorts and England shirts, as this was the year of the England World Cup squad.
Of course.
And their foray to Spain, and their, this time, more than any other time, hit in the top 40. Which I have to say, I'm very glad we don't play, because it was...
It's not very good.
Terrible. Yeah. Utterly awful. Anyway, in 82, we didn't know such things. Young Paul knew the area well and suggested we should stop off after a nice little shop that sold ice creams just down by the side of the local church. Sadly, the shop has now gone, but back then it was a quiet little lane where we were able to park up to take a well-deserved break, having restored order to the townsfolk's TVs and video recorders. Different times,
yes.
1982. Imagine trying to get your video recorder repaired now.
No.
I offered to pay and fetch them whilst he turned around, but young Paul, who was 5 years older than myself, parked over to the right with the driver's door by the pavement facing down the lane, and said that I should wait in the car while he went and got a couple of these ice-cool treats. Whilst I was waiting in the car, a bit of a traffic jam started to form alongside us, boxing us in. But we're in no rush, I thought, especially when I noticed that the car next to us in the queue had two very attractive young ladies inside. Mm-hmm. Both were blondes, and I mused how blondes wear black clothes to show off their golden locks. It was also at this point that young Paul returned with the ice creams, and the young ladies spotted this. Being a very, very hot day, both cars had their windows down, and one of the young ladies shouted, "Hey!" "Well, hey," I said back. "What have you got there?" said one of them. "An ice cream," I said. This is top dialogue, by
yes,
the way.
Brilliant.
"It's an ice cream," I said, quick as a flash.
Yeah.
I was super smart.
Yes.
Can't smell college, but
No.
"Give us a lick," says one of these women in the car. Now, I have to say, as a 16-year-old lad, I was enthralled at these older girls who could drive, paying me some attention. Hello! Also, not knowing what to say, I was like a deer in the headlights. I thought sharing an ice cream was a very unhygienic thing to do, share ice creams. Think of all the germs. But on the other hand, she was very beautiful. It's quite a dilemma. I was torn. I mean, colds, coughs, flu and diphtheria all need to be considered.
Yeah, they do.
But also, she could be my future wife. I could be looking at the mother of my future children.
Unlikely, but yeah.
I handed my ice cream across between the cars and said the only thing that came to mind, which was, "Well, you wouldn't be so hot if you weren't all dressed up on one of the hottest days of the year." That was quite clever. "Right," said one of them, not responding with the cool chat that I was hoping for. "We're just very hot, that's all," she said. "But look at us," I said. "We're in shorts. You'd be much happier if you weren't all, dressed up in jackets and hats and everything."
No.
Meantime, the jam was just getting longer and longer and longer. I paid no heed. I was transfixed. They then tried to get young Paul's ice cream as well. But he said, Did you see Brian Robson's goal against France? Now, this was a great line, I thought.
Yeah.
But our new foxy friends looked totally unimpressed. The ice cream shop is just there, he followed up with, but you might make a mess on your fancy clothes. I'd recommend the blackcurrant mivvy. Again, nothing came back. However, the jam was easing, the cars were on the move, and the girl said suddenly, "Oh, we're going." "Cheer up, love," said Paul.
Okay.
And then the penny dropped. The jam started outside of the church. It was caused by the hearse.
Oh, no.
That had been offloading a technical Undertaker reference, I think.
Yeah.
As we sat there, ice creams melting in our hand, the occupants of all the other cars, mourners, I guess you'd call them, probably, drove past, frowning, pointing and tutting at our inappropriate chatting up routine at a funeral. Obviously, they were overdressed due to protocol and tradition and respect, and we should have handed over both our ice creams to help their stressful and upsetting day. Now, says Thomas, we don't seek forgiveness from the occupants of the cars behind, who must have sat there watching and laughing at us, flirting with presumably the deceased's attractive younger family members, nor from the deceased themselves. Here's the most presumptuous line. Nor from the deceased themselves, who would probably agree life's too short and would rather have been enjoying a bit of flirting anyway. From yourself, Simon, because this happened 40-odd years ago, and I've meant to send our confession in for a great many years, but never found time to do it. So I thought I would never get the chance, and now I'm doing it. Anyway, we resolved, Paul and I, in future, that if we ever saw beautiful women at a funeral on a hot day, we would say nothing at all. This is obviously... I mean, if you're going to learn anything in life, that's a very good life lesson to take, I think. Nice mix. So, it's Thomas's confession, inappropriate, chatting up at what turned out to be a funeral, although he wasn't particularly aware of that fact. Sister Susie.
Well, Thomas, just read the room or the street, because obviously you must have seen you were outside a church and there was, a hearse nearby and they were all dressed in black and you should have known. So for that reason, just because you were enamoured with their beauty and you didn't actually look at what was going on, I'm not going to forgive you.
Brother from another gutter.
I mean, am I missing something? I mean, they started it. They're the girls in the car were the ones saying, I want to have a go in your ice cream. So, is it so wrong? Is it so wrong to chat someone up at a funeral? I think the jury's probably out on that one. Toss a coin, could go either way. But also, I'm going to forgive just for the mention of Brian Robson's goal in the 82 World Cup. One of the fastest, I seem to remember, so well done.
30 seconds or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, people's verdict, it's entirely down to you. 61054, start your word with Simon there. Need another weekend, says Justin. Don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Finally a win, says Vicky. That is a England-West Indies...
Okay,
yes,
finally, yes.
Cleaning cat vomit, that's Phil.
Lovely.
Keep soldiering on, says Misty.
Yes.
And Wordle in 6, says Nick. You're supposed to do it in 5, I think. But anyway,
right.
There you go. Matt hasn't done it, so he doesn't know what we're talking about. The people's verdict is in. It's tonight's confession, which was a shocker from Thomas and Big Paul, who embarked on some unwise chatting up at what turned out to be a funeral. People's verdict like this.
Yeah, so Jerry says, forgiven. Brother Matt hit the nail on the head. They started it. But Jackie says, not forgiven. I'm with Sister Susie here. What did they want? A big sign stating it was a funeral? Read the room. Linda says, I have to forgive because I met my husband at a funeral, although he did wait until the following week to approach me. But Mitch says, definitely forgiven. I met my wife at a crematorium. I'm a funeral director and she was a chapel attendant.
Very good. Okay,
yes.
So...
meant to be.
Does it feel as though that's forgiven?
I think it is. Yeah, forgiven, like me.
Is that because that's what you said?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. Fancy a smart speaker? Just drop us your confession. Confessions@greatesthitsradio.co.uk.